Story 1. I'm a single dad raising my daughter after losing my wife to cancer 3 years ago. It hasn't been easy, but my little girl keeps me going. She's the spitting image of her mother. Same curly hair, same infectious laugh, and definitely the same fierce spirit. I work as an IT consultant, which means I can usually arrange my schedule around my daughter's school hours. However, this specific Wednesday tested both my patience and my self-control in ways I never expected. It started as a typical afternoon. I picked up my daughter from school, already thinking about the presentations I needed to finish for the next day. That's when my daughter told me she was hungry. I told her we'd eat when we got home. That's when it hit me. Our fridge was practically empty. I'd been so caught up with work that grocery shopping had completely slipped my mind. Sprouts was having their Wednesday 10% off sale, and it was on our way home, so I figured we'd make a quick stop. As we pulled into the parking lot, I spotted my friend from the police department getting ready to go in. We go way back. She actually helped me through some rough patches after my wife passed, but that's a story for another day. I greeted her, saying I hadn't expected to see her there. She replied that she was just stocking up before her shift, joking that great minds think alike. After catching up briefly, we went our separate ways in the store. My daughter and I hit the frozen foods first, then grabbed some drinks, and headed to the cake counter. Her 10th birthday was coming up, and I wanted it to be special. She picked out this beautiful chocolate cake with white buttercream filling and a pink flower on top. $35 seemed steep for a cake, but seeing her eyes light up made it worth every penny. Just as we finished placing the order, my daughter tugged at my sleeve, pointing at the treat aisle. It was our little tradition. Every store visit, she got to pick one treat. But that's where everything went sideways. As my daughter was reaching for some chocolate malt balls, this kid came out of nowhere and shoved her aside. Before I could even react, I heard his mother's shrill voice encouraging her son and praising him for teaching what she called a filthy casual a lesson. My blood was boiling. I spun around so fast I nearly gave myself whiplash. I demanded to know what was wrong with her, pointing out that her son had just pushed my daughter. She responded dismissively, suggesting my daughter should learn to move faster and claiming her son deserved those treats more than what she called my brat. Her son was now dumping handfuls of candy into a single bag, completely ignoring the store's policy about bulk items. I confronted her about her son assaulting my daughter and her encouragement of his behavior. She responded by threatening to call the police for harassment. That's when my police friend came around the corner with her cart badge already out. She sarcastically commented on the mention of police, revealing she'd been recording everything, and told the woman that she would be the one getting arrested for harassment. The woman tried to claim my friend wasn't real police, but my friend simply challenged her to bet on it while showing her badge. The woman grabbed her son's arm and tried to make a break for it, but she didn't get far. My police friend may be small, but she's been doing CrossFit for years. She caught up to the woman in seconds, taking her down with a textbook tackle that would make any football coach proud. 2 more officers arrived within minutes. The store manager reviewed the security footage and banned both the woman and her son from all locations in our city. She got charged with harassment, attempted theft for her son's bulk candy grab, and resisting arrest. She ended up with community service and a hefty fine. Her ex-husband, who showed up to collect their son, actually apologized to us and promised to address his son's behavior. Turns out she had been filling the kid's head with entitled nonsense during their custody battles. We got our groceries for free that day, manager's orders. My daughter got her chocolate malt balls, plus an extra treat for being so brave. On our way home, she told me something that made all the chaos worth it, that I was her superhero. Story 2. I've been working at a local pet supply store for about 3 years now. It's a small, family-owned shop, and I absolutely love it. The owners let me bring my elderly rescue cat to work with me since she needs medication throughout the day. She's a sweet orange tabby who basically lives on the counter near the register, sleeping in her bed and getting attention from customers. Most people adore her, and the owners even put up a little sign saying she's the store's chief morale officer. She's great for business, too. Kids love coming in to pet her, and she helps calm down nervous pets that come into the store. She's become such a fixture that some customers bring her little treats or toys. The incident happened last week during what started as a normal afternoon shift. My cat was in her usual spot, drowsy after her medication, when this man walked in. He was wearing an expensive suit and had this air about him like he owned the place. At first, he was just browsing, though I noticed he kept looking over at my cat. After a few minutes, he came to the counter and asked me how much the cat cost. I explained that she wasn't for sale and that she was my personal pet. He wouldn't take no for an answer and offered me $500 for her. Again, I had to explain that she wasn't for sale and that she needed special care. The man then raised his offer to $1,000, explaining that his daughter had seen my cat on the store's social media and wanted her. He made sure to mention that he always gets what his daughter wants. I told him that I didn't care about the money. The cat was mine and not for sale. He suddenly got really aggressive, leaning over the counter. He started berating me, saying I was just a store clerk and that everything in the store must be for sale. He threatened to speak to my manager. I told him that the owners were already aware that she was my cat and had given permission for her to be there for medical reasons. That's when he actually tried to reach for her. My cat, startled from her sleep, hissed and backed away. I quickly stepped between them, but he shoved me aside and tried to grab her again. My cat scratched him, which only made him angrier. I yelled at him to stop, warning him that he was going to hurt her. He started raging about how the mangy thing had scratched him and threatened to have the whole place shut down. By this point, one of the owners had heard the commotion and came running from the back room. When the owner asked what was happening, the entitled man immediately claimed that my cat had attacked him and threatened to sue. The owner calmly told him that we had security footage of him being told the cat wasn't for sale and trying to grab her anyway, and that the police had already been called. The entitled man's face went pale when he heard police. He tried to backtrack, claiming it was all a misunderstanding, but the owner wasn't having it. When the police arrived, they reviewed the security footage and took statements from everyone. Turns out, this wasn't the first time he'd tried something like this. He had a history of similar incidents at other businesses, trying to bully people into giving him what he wanted. The police arrested him for assault for shoving me and attempted theft. The store owners pressed charges, and I got a restraining order against him. Last I heard, he lost his job at some big law firm when they found out about the incident. My cat got extra treats that day and didn't seem too bothered by it all. She was back to napping on her counter spot within an hour. We did make one change, though. The owners installed a small protective barrier around her bed area so she can still see and be petted by customers, but nobody can grab her. She seems to like her little fortress of solitude even better than her old setup. Story 3. I still remember that day 15 years ago when I was just a teenager. At 6'3" and pretty muscular for my age, I was used to people sometimes being intimidated by my size, but I was really just a big kid who loved computers and hanging out with my friends. None of us had our driver's licenses yet, so we'd always challenge each other to find the quickest walking routes to different places around our city. That summer day, I decided to check out a mall I'd never been to before. I had written down directions, but somehow I still got lost in an unfamiliar neighborhood. My mom always taught me that if I ever got lost, I should find a responsible-looking adult to ask for help. So when I saw a woman walking with her daughter, I thought they'd be perfect to ask for directions. I approached them politely and asked them for directions to the mall. The woman simply pointed down the street and told me to go that way. I thanked her and started walking in the direction she pointed. About 5 minutes later, a police car pulled up beside me. 2 officers got out and approached me. They explained they were looking for a tall black man with green eyes wearing a white t-shirt and jeans. I actually thought they might be looking for my friend who matched that description, so I wasn't too worried at first. They asked me what I was doing in this neighborhood, and I explained I was just walking to the mall. When they asked if I'd spoken to anyone while walking, I told them about asking the woman for directions. They made me wait there while another police car pulled up. To my surprise, the same woman and her daughter were in the back seat. I figured whatever misunderstanding had happened would be cleared up quickly, since all I'd done was ask for directions. The woman pointed at me through the window and started yelling that I was the one who had tried to rob them. Her daughter was crying behind her, and the woman was acting like I had committed some terrible crime. She went on a rant about how people like me didn't belong in her neighborhood and that the only reason I would be there was to rob somebody. She claimed I had scared her little girl to death and wished out loud that I would spend the rest of my life in jail where I belonged. The officers put me in handcuffs and into the back of their car. I kept trying to explain myself while fighting back tears, telling them repeatedly that I was just asking for directions because I was lost and had never even been to this neighborhood before. I sat in the back of that police car crying, convinced my life was over. I was just 15, but in that moment I felt like I'd never see my family again. Then a police supervisor arrived. He started questioning the woman, asking her exactly what I had said and done to her. She explained that I had asked her for directions, and she had told me which way to go. But she just knew I was going to come back later and steal her purse or worse. When the supervisor asked how she knew I was going to steal from her if I had walked away, she revealed her true colors. She stated that those people always do that, and she told her daughter they were going to do the right thing and make sure I couldn't hurt anyone. She insisted it was a good neighborhood and people like me didn't belong there. The supervisor's face turned red as he repeated back to her what had actually happened. I had asked for directions. She had given them to me, and I had walked away in the direction she had pointed. That was how they knew where to find me. He emphasized that I hadn't threatened her or her child, and it was clear she just didn't think I belonged in the neighborhood. The supervisor ordered the officers to release me immediately. I was still shaking and crying while they removed the handcuffs. The woman continued to protest, shouting about how they were letting a dangerous criminal go. The supervisor informed her that she would need to come to the station with them, explaining that filing a false police report and providing misinformation to law enforcement were serious offenses. He then turned to me and apologized profusely. He even gave me a ride to the mall, making sure I was okay during the drive. Later, I found out the woman was charged with filing a false police report and had to pay a significant fine. She was also required to attend diversity training courses as part of her sentence. The incident made local news, and she ended up having to move away from that good neighborhood due to all the negative attention she received. Today, I'm a successful IT professional, but I'll never forget that day. Not because of what that woman did, but because of that supervisor who took the time to actually listen and question what was really going on. Story 4. After dropping out of college due to financial struggles, I needed a steady job to support myself. I started as a sales associate at this gift store. You know, the one that rhymes with Rentzer's Rifts. And within 2 years, I worked my way up to manager. The store was located in an upscale area, which meant dealing with entitled customers was practically in my job description. This one incident happened about 10 years ago, during the Christmas rush. Our store was tiny, barely wide enough to meet accessibility requirements. The setup was simple: registers up front, adult novelties in the back, and everything else crammed in between. During holiday season, it was like trying to fit an elephant into a phone booth. I was running on fumes that day, having just worked 2 12-hour shifts back to back. The line of customers stretched nearly to the back of the store, and my coworker and I were tag teaming between ringing up purchases and watching for shoplifters. That's when it happened. A nice mom and her daughter, probably around 8 years old, were waiting patiently in line. They weren't anywhere near the adult section, just browsing the lanyards while waiting their turn. Everything was fine until this woman walked in. Let's call her Karen, because that's exactly who she was. The moment Karen spotted the child, I swear steam started coming out of her ears. She immediately started screaming about children being allowed in the store and demanded to see the manager. I dragged myself over, running on nothing but pure retail spite and the dregs of yesterday's coffee. When I told her I was the manager, she looked me up and down like I was something she'd scraped off her shoe. She scoffed and asked if I was about 18, telling me to go get the real manager. I told her that I was actually 22 and repeated that I was indeed the manager, asking what I could help her with. She launched into a rant about how the store was for adults only and how shameful it was to let children inside. I'll be honest, I might have dozed off standing up during her rant. The nice mom and her daughter just kept looking at the lanyards, completely ignoring Karen's existence, which only seemed to make her more angry. I tried explaining to her about our store policy, mentioning the sign at the entrance about parental guidance and how, being in a mall, we couldn't restrict entry based on age. Karen then turned her attention to the nice mom. She started berating her, calling her a terrible mother and threatening to report her to child services for exposing her innocent child to what she called filth. That's when the nice mom finally snapped. She turned away from the lanyards, and I swear the temperature in the store dropped 10 degrees. She laid into Karen, calling her a nosy busybody and telling her that her parenting choices were none of Karen's business. She explained that she'd rather her daughter learn about life from her than from some random kid at school. Then she delivered the knockout punch, suggesting that if Karen found the store so disgusting, she should leave, and maybe explain to everyone why she came into such a disgusting store in the first place. The entire store went dead silent. My coworker froze mid-scan. Even the Christmas music playing overhead seemed to pause in anticipation. Karen's face turned red. She opened and closed her mouth like a fish out of water, unable to form a response. Then, without another word, she spun around and stormed out, nearly knocking over a display of light-up keychains in her rush to escape. The nice mom then apologized to us for losing her cool, mentioning that her daughter just really liked our lanyards. I assured her there was no need to apologize and playfully asked her daughter if she wanted to help organize the lanyard display, mentioning there must be about 300 of them there. The daughter just giggled and shook her head, clutching the sparkly lanyard she'd picked out. The nice mom thanked me for handling everything well and wished me a Merry Christmas, which I returned warmly. After they left, my coworker and I couldn't stop grinning. Karen became something of a mall legend. For weeks afterward, other store managers would tell me how she tried the same routine in their stores, only to be shut down when customers recognized her as that woman who got schooled in the gift shop. Eventually, she stopped coming to our mall altogether, probably finding some other shopping center to terrorize. Dealing with entitled customers like her was exhausting, but moments like these, when good people stood up to nonsense, made it all worthwhile.